Welcome to Addicted to Quitting, the podcast where we dive deep into the art of breaking free from bad habits by becoming addicted to the benefits of quitting habits that no longer serve us. I'm your host, Gentry, a divorced mom of 4 boys, certified public accountant, and a certified life and recovery coach, living a sober lifestyle since May 1st of 2018. Join me today as we explore the power of becoming addicted to quitting and unlocking your true potential. Today, I'll be sharing my story that led me to recovery. So this is going over kind of like 10, 15 years of a drinking career that led me to the day that I finally got sober. It's time to level up your life, and I'm here to guide you every step of the way. This is Addicted to Quitting, the podcast that empowers you to break free, embrace change, and thrive. Let's get started on this transformative journey together. Welcome back to another episode of Addicted to Quitting. I am excited to share with you guys kind of my journey leading up to the day that I got sober. So I got sober May 1st, 2018, and it was just my birthday. So I am 36 years old, and on my 30th birthday, I said that I was not going to bring alcohol into my 30s, which at the time, like, did I believe I was going to actually follow through on this? Like, I don't know. Like, I had so many times that I said I wasn't going to drink anymore and would continuously relapse. But it was like one of those pivotal moments, right? Like, every single time something big happened, I would like make this declaration that I wasn't going to drink anymore. Like DUIs, pregnancies, really bad drunken, like blacking out with my kids in the car. That one got me sober for a minute. And New Year's resolutions, right? Like I always had like these big moments that were supposed to get me sober. And my 30th birthday was going to be one of those moments. It was another declaration of like, I'm going to do this time. I promise you all. And then everyone being like, yeah, okay, we've heard this before. But I want to kind of talk about the 15 years of drinking that led me to that day in May, because I think there were so many lessons learned on the journey, and without those lessons, without these pivotal moments, I think that I wouldn't have got sober on May 1st, right? Like I got sober on that day because it was the straw that broke the camel's back, not because that was the only time that it was bad. But I wish that I would have listened to the little voices in my head earlier. And so if you're sober curious and you're listening to this right now, you're listening to this because you have those voices in your head. You're listening to this because something is telling you the way you're feeling about alcohol just isn't right. Something's telling you that you want to take a break, right? Like you're curious about what your life could look like if you took a break. And I am here to encourage you to listen to those voices because I had those voices for 10 years. 10 years. So in 2007, 2008, it was the first time I went to an AA meeting, and I didn't get sober until 2018. And part of me is just so bummed out that I had that voice in my head for 10 years before I actually freaking listened to it. And it was before that meeting I had the voice started, right? Like the voice started in high school, but there was so much acceptance around alcohol and so much excitement around alcohol that it was really hard for me to stay firm and strong and confident in listening to that voice because it felt like I was missing out if I didn't partake in drinking. And I remember people saying like, oh, this is just part of being an accountant, is like people drink, like it's just part of the culture, like people drink in this industry. And since I've gotten sober, I became a certified life and recovery coach, and I've been working with people and helping them get sober. Every single industry believes that about their industry. Every single industry. I've worked with teachers. I've worked with people in the medical industry. I've worked with scientists. I've worked with people in the car industry. I've worked with people in the restaurant industry, and every single industry, like every single client that I've had, they've said in our industry, in this career, people just drink a lot. Like it's part of our culture in this industry. Guess what? It's part of our culture in our culture. It's not about the industry that you're working in. So you have to be willing to disconnect yourself from that thought, because it does not matter the culture that you're, or the industry that you're in. in any industry, you're going to find people that are drinking. If you are drinking, you're going to find the people that are drinking. And you'd actually be surprised that in your industry, there's probably a lot of people that aren't drinking or aren't partaking in those types of things. But because you've already kind of bought into it, you're hanging out with and you're seeing the people that are. Same thing happened when I was doing illegal drugs. So at one point in my drinking career, I was doing cocaine and smoking weed in like the 18 to 22 range. Actually, I think I quit doing cocaine before I went to rehab, so that was 21. But I thought like, oh, it's just this college. It's these people that I'm around, right? And as soon as I went to the other college or I moved to the other town, I found people that were doing drugs, right? Like you're going to find the people that are matching the lifestyle that you're living. So you have to be in control of the lifestyle that you want. You have to start living and making decisions for the life that you want, not the one that you're actually in. So that was just a little side note. It's like, oh, this is just what we do. This is what college is about, is drinking. You know what? There's a lot of kids in college that aren't drinking, and even more education coming out about how bad alcohol is for you, and how people are, it's a third leading cause of death in the United States of preventable death is alcohol. Like there's so much more education and there's so much more pushback around the drinking culture these days, and acceptance for people choosing to not drink than it was for me 10 years ago. But still, it just was interesting because people, when I was choosing these careers and doing this, and I was working in the restaurant industry, oh, people just drink after work. No, there actually are people in your industry that don't, where you've just gotten kind of sucked into the people that do. But anyway, so I wanted to talk to you guys about my journey to getting to that May 1st sobriety date, and how every single pivotal moment was important for me to be able to get that. But again, if you're sober curious and you're starting to hear these voices in your head, listen to them. Please listen to them. And I can give you guys some tools on how to overcome them. If you want to make sure that you're subscribed to my weekly newsletter, I talk about just leveling up with your mental health, your emotional health, your personal development, so that you can have the confidence to overcome alcohol. Because that was what I realized is what I was missing, is the confidence, that confidence muscle of being able to follow through, go against the grain, go against societal expectations, go against my fears of opinions. I want to talk about that knowing and how I knew and how I wasn't doing, and some of the things that I was doing to keep me stuck in this episode. If you guys have heard of the drama triangle, I actually want to do a whole episode on the drama triangle and when it comes to relationships, but I want to talk about the drama triangle when it comes to keeping me stuck in my addiction. And the drama triangle is a victim, a villain, and a hero. And I would play these roles, the victim, the villain, and the hero, in my own like world, in my own sobriety or my own addiction, to kind of keep me stuck, to keep me in this triangle of like, it's called below the line. So like, just kind of where I could co-sign. I love to co-sign my own bullshit, and the drama triangle really helped that. And being able to co-sign that it wasn't that bad was something that started early in my drinking, because I was surrounded by people that were drinking heavily and consistently, and they weren't affected by it. They didn't seem to feel like they weren't living up to their full potential. They didn't seem to care that they were leaving their kids asleep at night and going to the bars. They didn't seem to care about their houses being chaotic or unorganized, or they didn't care. And I admired that. There was like, in the beginning of my drinking when I was a teenager, it was like, oh my gosh, they just are having fun for the rest of their lives, because I was drinking with people that were older than me. And they're like, oh, this looks like so much fun. This is the life that I want to live. It looks like so much fun. In my adolescent brain, it looked like it's not that bad. It's not that bad to be drunk all the time. It's not that bad to be drinking at school sporting events. It's not that bad to have a little bit of chaos in your house. It's not that bad. Like, so I had this like, it's not that bad mentality. And I feel like that was kind of the villain mentality, like downplaying the chaos it was causing, downplaying the health consequences of drinking heavily and drinking consistently and drinking at the young age that I was. I downplayed it a lot. And I think that gaslighting was something that kept me stuck for longer than it needed to, because I kind of felt like this is what everybody's doing. So even though now, like, as I started developing into an adult and started having these thoughts of like, man, I really don't like the way this makes me feel. I really don't like that I'm not as productive. I really don't like that I'm not living up to my full potential. I really don't like that I'm hungover and can't take care of my kids the way I need to. I really don't like this feeling. I already had this it's not that bad brainwash kind of starting in my head that's like, no, it's fine. Like, you're fine. Your kids are they're good enough, right? Like, you don't have to be as productive as so and so. Like, it's okay. Like, we can settle. We can be happy here and we can be content here. And in my brain, I didn't really believe that, right? Like, it was this constant battle. And then I'm questioning if other people are having this constant battle. Like, are you okay with this lifestyle? Like, are you really happy here? Are you really content with this? Because like, I'm not, and I keep kind of putting this outward like image of like, oh, this is fun, this is great, but really internally I'm just like questioning this, like, why does this not feel right? And so if you are sober curious right now, if you are sober curious and you are questioning this, there is a reason you are questioning this. There is a higher power. There is a universe. There is something that's saying, hey, you know what? You're made for more. You are better than this. You are more capable of doing amazing things than just drinking your life away. And you have to listen to that. Like, this I'm not that bad mentality, or comparing ourselves to other people. Like I'm not that bad also was a way for me to be like, I'm going to villainize the person next to me that's drinking more than me, that's being more obnoxious, that's being more irresponsible, so that I can be like, I'm not that bad. I'm not them. If you are doing this right now, I need you to stop looking at them. I need you to go stand in the mirror and say, is this the person that I want to be for myself? Is this the person I want to be for my kids? Is this the person I want to be for my career? Because if your answer to that is not yes to every single one of those, then you need to dig deep on what's going on. You need to really start putting in work to make some changes. Because if you look in the mirror and you're like, hey, when I drink alcohol, if you look in the mirror and you say, when I drink alcohol, I am the optimal person. I am the best mom. I'm the best cook. I'm the best cleaner. I'm the best employee. I'm healthiest I've ever been. I'm sleeping great. I'm doing all these things. If you look in your mirror and you say, when I drink alcohol, all these things are true, then maybe alcohol is for you. You're amazing. But if you're sober curious and you're listening to this episode because you're sober curious and you're looking in the mirror and you're like, man, I just don't like the way this makes me feel. I just don't like who I become. I don't like that I need it to be happy. I don't like that I need it to feel relaxed, because alcohol actually doesn't relax you. There is studies that prove that it can give you momentary relaxation, but it will increase anxiety and stress the next day, or once alcohol has been worn off. So if you're looking in the mirror and you're really ready to like ask these questions, you have to stop looking at other people. You have to stop telling yourself it's not that bad. You have to stop co-signing your bullshit and pretending like this is acceptable. Because if you're having these questions, you're having them for a reason. And the reason is because there is something in you. There's an energy that is just craving to be shown. And it's just like, babe, we can do big things, but we can't do big things with alcohol in our system. We have a light that needs to shine, and that light cannot shine with alcohol in our system. And listen to that voice and reflect on that voice, and keep it about you. Keep it about you. Keep it about the person that you want to become. Because I think a lot of times for me, a really quick way to get out of that feeling of like, who do I want to become, is to compare myself to who I wasn't. I'm not them. I'm not as bad as them, so therefore I'm better. As long as I can be better than as long as I could find somebody worse than me to compare myself to, I could co-sign that what I was doing wasn't that bad. And really, who I should be comparing myself to is the person that I knew I was capable of being. Because if I look at the person I know that I'm capable of being, which I'm not even there yet, guys, I'm 6 years into my sobriety, and I know that there's so much more I have, so much potential I have. Um, I've grown, I've grown a ton in the last 6 years of sobriety, but looking at the person that I want to become and the person I was, alcohol wasn't going to get me there. Alcohol just absolutely wasn't going to get me there. And I had to make that decision. I had to keep looking at myself and comparing myself to myself. I had to compare myself to myself. And then the other thing that was really powerful is starting to really push myself to stop trying and start doing. And this one was really, really hard because I think once you know, right? Like, so say right now you're sober curious and you're like, you know what? I've looked in the mirror. I know that alcohol's not serving me. I'm past that. Like I'm past that downplaying portion of my recovery. I now know, right? Like I know that it's not serving me, and I know that I need to level up, but I'm not able to do. That can be very, very suffocating. And I think the guilt and shame in that stage is so hard, because to know and to be past that, like, co-signing of like, oh, I know, excuse me, co-signing of it's not that bad, and to actually is submit to knowing and not being able to do is the true pain of addiction. And I think until you experience that moment, in those moments, those years, I spent years in this knowing, not being able to do, that's where true pain of addiction comes in, because it's so frustrating and it's so easy to be down on yourself. It's so easy to be hard on yourself during this time. But I just want you to know that nobody gets sober from guilt and shame. Nobody gets sober from guilt and shame. After we really look in the mirror and stop comparing ourselves, stop downplaying the alcohol use, and we start to listen to that voice a little bit more, here's where like the scariest moment comes in when it comes to getting sober. Knowing and not being able to do. It is the worst feeling of addiction, is knowing and not doing, is that I'm trying stage. And this part is so important. It's so important because you might not get sober the first time you try. You might not be able to overcome the craving. You might not be able to put it down this time or the next or the next. You might not be able to go with the game plan that you made to not drink at that party or to not stop at that gas station. You might not be able to follow through on what you say you know you want. And that sucks. And that is where people get trapped, is in the knowing and not doing. And that's the most painful part of addiction. Because when you can downplay your drinking, when you can downplay how bad it is, when you can compare yourself to other people's, when you can keep yourself like in this cosigned, like, it's fine state, you are in such denial that you are still almost enjoying drinking because you've kept yourself in a state of denial. Once you're able to look in the mirror, and I'm talking to you guys, you sober curious, because I bet you've already done the look in the mirror part if you're listening to this. But if you've done that look in the mirror and you now know alcohol's not serving you, and you're struggling with following through on the doing, congratulations, you're at the most painful part. You're going to be able to get sober, but you have to decide how much pain you're willing to endure before you actually get there. Alcohol's not serving you, and you're just kicking the can down the road, and every single time you kick the can down the road and you allow something else to happen, instead of strengthening your confidence muscle, you're strengthening your pain threshold muscle. You're like, oh, I can hold more pain. Oh, I can hold more pain. Oh, I can hold more pain. Hold on, let me just get a different backpack. I need a bigger backpack to carry this pain around. And the more pain you're willing to carry, the stronger or the farther out you're going to push that pain threshold. And we don't want to carry pain. We don't want to have to carry that weight. We don't want to have to keep pushing it, your limits when it comes to pain. You want to keep pushing your limits when it comes to confidence. And somebody that is confident chooses what's best for them, not what's best for what they think people will think of them. And people of confidence make sure that they are showing up for the people in their lives. And people with confidence are doing the things that are going to help better their health. They're going to be working out. They're going to be taking care of their mental health. They're going to be going to therapy. They're going to be joining communities that are going to help build their confidence, build their personal development, keep them in line, keep them accountable to their goals. I don't want you to focus so much on your alcohol, as much as I want you to focus on how to become a best version of you. And eventually you're going to realize that alcohol is not in alignment with that, right? Like, how can I be better? What can I quit doing? What can I start implementing? What could I be focusing on, like that best version of you, and what that best version of you looks like, and then start building up that confidence muscle of being able to become that person. Alcohol is an extremely addictive substance. And so if you aren't able to quit the first time, know that you're human and you're ingesting an incredibly addictive substance. And your body is a machine. It's a computer that is designed to keep you alive. It doesn't understand everything that it's the habits that you formed to keep you alive. It just knows that the habits that you formed have kept you alive. And so you're going to have to rewrite those. You're going to have to undo some of that and be gracious with yourself. Like, give yourself grace, but know that grace is you're not going to grow in grace. So make sure that you are continuously pushing yourself to get better, to be better, to do better. But give yourself grace that if you get off track, if you fall back, it's just an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity for you to learn and implement something new moving forward. But you have to build up the confidence in yourself. Confidence is what gets you sober. Another thing that really came up strong that kept me sick was this poor me. Poor me. When I was knowing and not being able to do, I love to sit and poor me. Like, oh, I know I should be doing these things, and I'm not able to do. And I'm not able to do because I'm a piece of crap. I suck at life. Poor me, poor me, poor me, poor me, poor me. Like, everything was like beating myself up for not being able to do this. And I want you to really work hard to stay away from the poor me, because poor me is only going to keep you stuck and sick so much longer than you need to be. Like, I'm telling you guys, I did this for 11 years of trying to quit. And poor me was my go-to when I was knowing and not being able to do. As soon as I knew, tried, failed, poor me came in. And poor me, there's no time for poor me. You want to get sober and you fail, here's an opportunity for you to learn why you failed. You failed this time? Okay, cool. What do you need to do? I need to plan ahead more. I don't need to put myself in, I don't need to test my decision-making muscle. We know that that one's not great, especially when we're habits. And I've talked about habits before, like we're wired to do things a certain way, and we're going to kick into those as soon as we, like, our brain just automatically does things. So when we have the habit of drinking alcohol in certain situations, we have to plan ahead. So, okay, you drank, you weren't going to, you said you weren't going to, you did, and now what do we need to do? Plan ahead to make sure that doesn't happen again. But poor me has to stay out of the equation. Poor me cannot be a part of you getting sober, because that's nobody with confidence is saying poor me. Right? Like, you need a confidence muscle. You need to build your confidence muscle. You need to build your consistency muscle. You need to build your follow-through muscle. And it doesn't have to be with alcohol. It could be with, like I said, working out every day. It could be with making your bed. It could be with doing the dishes at night. It could be with something else, but you have to build those muscles up and stop building the holding pain muscle. As soon as we're able to say, I'm not willing to hold that much weight in pain anymore, your confidence is going to increase, because somebody that's confident is going to hold a lot of weight in pain. They're going to say, nope, I'm good. I'm going to feel this. I'm going to heal this. And then I'm going to let it go. I'm not going to hold a lot of weight in that department. I'm going to hold a lot of weight in my confidence. I'm going to hold a lot of weight in my consistency. I'm going to hold a lot of weight in my follow through, but we're not holding a lot of weight in pain anymore. We're not pushing ourselves to be bodybuilders in pain, and we're pushing ourselves to follow through. We're pushing ourselves to make changes, and it's uncomfortable, and there is pain involved. But the more confidence you have, the more consistency you have, the more follow through you have, the shorter amount of time you'll have to spend in pain, because you're going to be able to say like, nope, I know who I'm meant to be. I know that this little voice is talking to me for a reason. I know I'm capable of doing more and being more, and I know, like, and that's what's so like, it breaks my heart for people that are like, I'm sober curious and I kind of feel like I'd be, but so many people drink and my family wouldn't, but bullshit. Who cares? Who cares? Push yourself and see what happens. Like, the worst, like, just see what happens. Like, if you know for you and like that you would be better off without it in your life, why are you wasting this time in this internal back and forth? Right? Like, I wasted so many years in this internal back and forth, wanting to be liked, wanting to be accepted. And guess what? They didn't even like me or accept me when I was drinking. Like, I was too much for them then. So if I'm too much, go find less. Right? Like, be confident in who you are. Build your confidence muscle to get sober today. And it's going to take work to undo it, but the more confidence you have in yourself, the more confidence you have in your abilities, the more confidence you have in becoming that future you, the easier it will become. The easier it will become. So I'm strongly encourage you, if you guys need any help or support on your sober journey, make sure you email me at lifewithgentry at lifewithgentry.com. I'll link it below. Also, make sure you're subscribed to my weekly newsletter, where I talk about different ways to level up your life in recovery by becoming addicted to quitting. But this is the episode of Addicted to Quitting where I'm talking about getting sober and kind of my journey on those 11 years of what happened leading up to my recovery. So I hope this was helpful, kind of sharing a little bit of the internal dialogue that I was experiencing in those 11 years of addiction, some of the things that happened to me and how I continuously built up my pain threshold muscle instead of building up my confidence muscle. And if you have any questions or need any support at all, make sure that you reach out to me. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Addicted to Quitting, where we level up by becoming addicted to benefits of quitting habits that no longer serve us. Much love to you guys, my favorite quitters. This is Gentry signing off. Keep going, keep quitting.